like the idea of talking about like introducing each other a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that'd be good.
because we're so good at this,
Oh,
and we've been doing this for so long, our videos are just going to have a natural flow.
well, they should.
Yeah, and just like in the last video, if you didn't watch, you'll need to rewatch because this won't make sense if you don't.
Oh, you have to rewatch
Yep.
that one.
So we made it. We're here.
Exactly.
What were we doing?
We were gonna go fishing.
We were ice fishing. That's
But-
right. And as you can see, we're not ice fishing.
No. I do like the backdrop though.
We found a cool place to sit.
So tell us a little bit. You said this is your favorite truck. Tell
Yeah.
us why you like it.
We're sitting by the neighbor's haystack, and this has been an old property. There's a ton of old vehicles. And I like this truck because of the rust. I love that it's more rust colored than it is green. It just has a cool vibe to it.
In the world that I live in, we call it, what is that, a patina?
Patina.
It's got a green patina.
Anything you say you want to be fancy sounding, you say French.
Oh,
And I think patina's French, right?
it sounds like it. I think it sounds like it.
I forgot my pipe.
You're fine. I do like French fries, French kissing, and what else is French?
Menage a trois.
French toast. I mean, come on.
French toast, that's another one.
French toast is good.
This is the family-friendly version, so we'll skip a couple.
I don't know anything else besides.
Well, I
those
wanted to
three
say the
words.
menage a trois, but we'll have to bleep that out.
Is that bad? Is that
No, it's really good.
Oh, okay.
It's too
Well,
good.
Moving. Well, I know there's a lot of French. Well, anyway, moving right along. So, Taylor, I have a question for you.
Okay.
How did you get into pigeons?
Well, a hunting dog got me my first birds,
Oh,
but I grew up going in my uncle's loft and seeing his birds. My uncle had racing pigeons. And so I'd seen racing pigeons growing up, family get-togethers, I'd be out in his loft. But it wasn't until I was married and got a dog, a Brittany Spaniel for hunting, and I got him to train the dog.
isn't that crazy? How many of us have? We have that dog to pigeon
Yeah,
entry into the thing.
there's a bunch of us.
Yeah. So you would go and get pigeons to train the dog, or how did that evolve?
So the first time I did it, I bought just feral pigeons
Okay.
from someone on a classified ads, and
What was the price back then?
it was $5
Okay. So
for
okay.
a pigeon, and I think it still is.
I think it is. Where's the inflation, right?
And yeah, the pigeons don't know, so they just charge what they charge.
I gotcha.
So we would shoot them over the dog, or we would miss our shots. And I had read that people could have a loft.
Oh.
I knew a dog trainer that had a loft in his backyard, and he was never buying birds. He was just using his own birds. He'd shoot a baby from time to time over the dog, but most of the birds just fly back and
Gotcha.
reuse the next week.
Gotcha.
So that's what I did. I built a 2x2 box, and I screwed it to my grandma's shed. I was living at my grandma's house,
Okay.
so grandma let me have a pigeon box on her shed, and I had a pair in there.
Were they homers?
Yeah.
At this point?
I got them from a guy in West Valley. He still flies.
That's awesome.
And yep, shout out to Arturo. And Arturo's birds kept coming home, and I had a red hen and a blue cock, and I never could successfully breed them.
Serious?
Yeah, I never got any babies.
Were they older or something, or don't know?
I figured my box was insufficient.
Okay. Well, if you only had what was it?
It might be they need more than a 3-foot cube.
Throw some weed in there.
So the 3
I
foot,
get it.
the
I get
3-foot cube got upgraded to a 6x6 dog kennel. And then I was racing, and I gave my uncle a jingle, and he sent me some more race birds to try.
I think it would be appropriate to do a shout out for your uncle.
Yeah, my uncle, David Plummer, he's got some great
Oh,
birds
he's got some great
in his
birds.
loft, and he gave me some of his best stuff. And at the time, I didn't know how great they were.
Okay. I can understand that. Unappreciated.
I didn't know
Whatever you.
a pigeon was a pigeon to me. I didn't know there were top shelf pigeons and there were pigeons.
Somebody gives you something versus somebody buys you something in that stage, and you think that the spending the more money will give you the better.
That's true.
But it's really that anyway. But it's really what
those
handed to you.
Those free babies were out of some of the best stuff. And just last week, I was looking at pedigrees, and I saw one, and I just cursed myself up and down because this is a bird that got eaten by the dog in the yard,
Oh,
and this should have been in the breeding loft.
and not to worry though, because from what I know of the Taylor system, you weeded out the bad one. I mean, it should have jumped off the grass. It should have.
Right. Yeah.
So you know,
She was the
to
only one that
be.
got ate that day.
But isn't that
But
the worst?
her mom
That's
and
how
dad,
they go.
her
That's
mom and
how
dad
it
aren't
goes.
here anymore. Yeah, I couldn't make another one of her,
Yeah.
and so it's like.
So there we go.
But the dog had been trained. He was really good at his job, and I kept buying pigeons.
Okay.
I fell in love with the birds.
So you still have the dog?
Yeah, I still have
Still
the
have the
old dog.
and you still have the pigeons. Went
Yeah.
from
The dog's he's this is his last couple years. He's an old man and not retired, but this might be
I
his
love
retirement season.
you and I have dogs that are I don't know if they're the exact same age, but they're deaf. They're my snout is still going on my dog, but
Mine can hardly smell.
you know,
A hunt dog's
you
made
know,
to smell.
yeah, yeah. Maybe mine had COVID and lost his smell that way. I don't
And
know.
then it came back.
he definitely stinks. Is stinking different than smelling?
Yeah, and it's not his fur.
So it is. There is a difference.
There's a smell to an
between
old dog.
stinking and smelling. I got it. Can you think of a bird back then that you'd like to have now? I know you said the one that was eaten by the dog, but let's just say you're thinking back and you're like, oh, I wish I had this bird.
Yes, there are two birds that I can think of distinctly. There was an old hen, and she had bred some really nice birds for my uncle.
Okay.
She was out of a father-daughter pairing, and it was the best daughter that this father ever had, and the father was hot shit.
Was he?
Yep. And so it was a really cool to have those genetics in the loft.
Okay.
And she was on her last few seasons, and my uncle trusted me with her, and a raccoon.
Oh, you could never judge out something that's going to get in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have.
He peeled some wire that was stapled down,
and he got in there. The raccoon did.
Yeah, he was an old raccoon. His teeth were busted off. He had like patches with no fur.
So it was just him trying to find.
He was
desperate. He was desperate.
And
that's the worst.
He took some really good birds. He took
that
old hen.
Just take her. Okay.
He took the old hen. He ate a bunch. He killed a bunch. I almost quit. The next day, I was quitting.
Your heart was broken, and it was over.
It had turned the breeding loft upside down. There were I think 3 birds left.
You had babies
out
or anything?
Of 10 to 12 breeders.
Oh.
And I thought they were my best birds. They're my breeding birds.
Yeah.
So this old hen got ate by the raccoon, and
that's hard. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And she was a special bird. She had made a lot of great babies before then.
Any of her blood left?
Can
you think?
Not really.
Any blood left at my loft? Like that one?
Not from her.
Okay.
I mean, it's like cousins.
Did you touch her a lot? Did you go in and touch her a lot?
Yeah.
Did you touch her?
She felt like an old bird.
And when
she had some fat on her.
Did she? When you touched her, did you like touching her, feeling her? Did you touch her more than you touched the mic on the first episode?
Well, no. I don't think anyone can touch something more than I touch the freaking mic.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't know if the audience can hear this, but as I edited the video, it was like nails on a chalkboard for me.
I couldn't even tell, but you told me to tie in something, so there we tied it in. So back to our birds. There you are. You have the little loft, and you were going to give up, and then you're like, I
lost her, and I lost a cock bird. And I didn't know he was special at the time. But later, 6 years later, where we are now, I see my best birds are all tied to him. They've got him in the pedigree.
That's another.
And I only had him for 2 years.
Isn't that crazy?
So if I could have had him for 8,
he would have been.
Imagine, it's just there's 2 birds.
Foundation cock and foundation hen, and dang it,
that raccoon haunts me.
Yeah.
And.
Could you have kept him out? Probably not. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
The loft you have now, he couldn't get into. Couldn't come through the bottom.
He would have a hard time getting to the trap. But I'm more trusting than I should be.
Yeah,
my loft isn't as secure as maybe it could be.
We'll come back to your experience and your travel through this pigeon world. But speaking of do you think we're retarded for not locking our lofts? I mean, or having a padlock or a. I mean, do you?
I'm not,
Okay,
because I'm not the guy that's advertising
so
with any big dollar bills attached to any bird. I
gotcha.
mean, my birds they were gifts. There's no value attached to these birds.
I misplaced my best hen ever when we were going through them, and I couldn't find her where I thought she was, and I placed her in a different loft. I don't even remember putting her in there. And I remember my first thought was somebody had got in and got her. I don't know how they would have known it was her, but at the same time, I'm like, why don't I have this locked?
That
Why
was
don't
the
I have?
thought. Someone
Oh
stole
yeah,
her.
yeah. Because how else could? Right? It wasn't. It was so crazy of me to have.
I might have to hide behind this cool
You're
truck to
fine.
get my pipe
You're
started.
fine. It was like crazy of me to even have put her where I found her. So I don't know. I was praying. I remember thinking, "Oh, please let me find her. Let me find her." And I finally did. So that's good. So
Got you thinking about putting a lock though, didn't it?
yeah, yeah. I know guys in our clubs that have. Boy, you gotta have. It's Fort
I've checked them
Knox.
all.
Have you?
Yeah, there's 3 guys that lock their lofts.
This one I can think of. He's got good birds, but yeah, it's padlocked up.
Yeah,
So back to your experience. There you are. You're have the raccoon come in. You were going to get out. You decide I'm going to stay. And now, how many years ago was that? What?
that was probably 4 or 5
Okay, so
years ago.
it was a while
And
ago.
I had birds from different places, and they were mostly prisoners. You know, they had raced somewhere else. They had
Ah,
been
so
fed
at
somewhere
that
else.
time you did have.
I had
We'll
prisoners.
learn more about Taylor's system, I think, as the videos go.
Yeah.
But you're so there you are. You had prisoners. Okay,
And then I only had a few breeders left, and they were all birds that I had raced. And so I just opened the loft.
that's the concept that you like. Let
Yeah.
them just
And
fly.
it's like, this is, maybe I'm done.
Okay,
I was quitting.
you're
And
like
I was, maybe I'm done. So I just opened the loft, and I had quickly fallen back in love with the birds, and I haven't locked the loft since.
okay,
My breeders still are out
yeah,
from time to
yeah.
time. They're not at this moment, but yesterday I had opened the door and they were out.
You tell us if we just got to hear this because this leads us to your system, which we'll get to one day. So you bought these birds at auction of in Salt Lake not too long ago, and
Yeah, just
can you give us some high dollar birds? You spent
yeah.
$10,000 on the one,
Uh,
$20,000 on the other. Yes, you did.
I've
And then what did you do?
I've
You
had
got them
I've
all.
had good luck in the past,
How
but
the heck?
it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
There's as many bad birds in the auction as good birds, and people think they're putting in their best
Oh
birds.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, and I've had birds lead to nothing, where they didn't ever give me anything that was worth talking about.
Doesn't matter what the big
And
name is
yeah,
from.
and there's dollar tags attached to those birds.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And in an effort to support the club and my addiction, I went
Your
down.
religion.
Yeah,
I like it.
my religion too.
Pigeon religion.
And I went down and I bought a couple hens, and they were expensive for
They're
me.
nice birds.
They handled
They
great.
feel good.
They're out of lofts that are really good lofts, and I'm excited about them.
So you bring them home,
I brought
and
them home, and then I decided
at my house they're like locked up. They're going nowhere. Right?
never out again.
No, never see the. Well, they get to like look through chicken wire.
And at my
see,
house, I don't like locking my loft. So what I eventually did after they fell in love with their sweethearts is I let them out.
that is the coolest, craziest
Yeah.
thing ever. I can see people on the no yelling, Taylor,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
One of the guys that I got it from, I was like, so she's never raced? And he's like, no, I've never been out. I'm like, so I could rehome her. He was like, why would you do that?
You just auctioned through everyone else and bought the bird.
I just bought this bird, and he's like, why in the world would you do that? She's just going to get eaten by a hawk. I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, I lost one today. But anyway, maybe.
But I'm sticking to my guns. I'm as stubborn as a mule.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm sticking to my guns, open loft.
Taylor system. That's why we call it that.
Yep. And the first night they were out, they had both taken off. And they didn't come back in by dark.
So you had these birds, they were in there, they fell in love with their sweethearts. You open up the cage, everyone flies out, they go out with them, and you don't see them again.
That night, there's no one home, and I felt
dollar signs flying away.
I'm still paying these birds off.
Quarters
and they're
dropping as they go.
They're not even here anymore.
Dang it!
So the next day, they found their way back.
So the next day they were back at the loft.
And I
That's
couldn't
way
believe
cool.
it. I was like, well, I'll never let him out again.
Yeah. So now that's
And
okay.
the other side
I
of me
get it.
is like, what are you talking about,
This is the
Taylor?
Taylor system.
They proved that they know where you live. You
True.
better let them out tomorrow.
Okay.
So they've been in and out, and it's working.
That's nuts.
But
But yes.
it could have not worked as
Yeah.
easily as it worked.
I sleepless night. I could just imagine me. They're never coming back. I'll never see them again. I mean, I'm in your shoes. So you're
Yeah.
sitting there for the night, but then there they are. And you're right. Once it seems like once they figure it out, they got it. I think sometimes
Right.
I have to like train them 4 or 5 times or 25, 30 times. But once they get it, they get it. So here you are. You got them back in, and now you can let those breeders and their mates and stuff just out and
Yeah,
about when they
and
want
now
to.
they can go out together, and the cocks chasing them around the yard,
Benefits, man. They get grit when they want to. They learn what this is and that is,
getting
and
some sunshine. They're
I remember seeing them flying in that big old. She might not have been in there, but in the big flock when it was real foggy, they're shooting through the fog. All
yeah,
that kind of stuff is just the coolest.
yeah.
There's some great benefits, I think, to your system, which would lead us to a verbiage that you use that I love, and that is we talked about the raccoon coming into your loft. Who is the biggest predator in your loft?
Well, I would hope it's me.
Yes, I love the way
Yeah,
you put that.
and I've kind of borrowed this idea from other people in the grazing community, where your weaker, poorer performing
So
livestock
you got your goat
don't
or
yeah.
your
I love the sheep.
sheep or whatever.
I
Yeah.
love the sheep, and so my mind are on the sheep. And that can't wean off her lamb and be in good condition, maybe she doesn't belong.
We
And if I'm the predator, I'm gonna eat her.
we would raise rabbits, and it's that same thing. If she couldn't go down and have a clutch or give us some bunnies, and there's a lot of them that won't. They'll kick them out early, whatever. She's on the table.
Yeah.
We're not keeping that dough. She's on the table.
And this year, more than years past, I want to apply that to my loft, where not necessarily going to eat them the same way I eat lamb.
Yeah,
I'll cook them
but you're the
differently.
predator. You're gonna
I'll
call.
cook
You're
them
gonna
different.
yeah.
But I think I ought to be the predator, and my team might be better as a whole if there's 12 instead of 20.
Oh, you are so spot on. You're
You
spot
know,
on. I
I wonder, but how do you find the right 8?
well, they would say the basket is the test,
Yeah,
right? Or is it the hawk? Or is it there's a whole bunch of tests that
yeah.
you got to do to get them in the
I've
basket.
got some injured birds. Are
Yeah,
those the 8? Do I just decide on them now, or do I wait to see if they're part of the 12?
man, I think you better wait to see if they're part of the
Because
12 because that's the game.
I've got like 20,
Yeah, that's the game, though. That's the game we play.
but I know there's
Can you
only like
make it?
4 good ones.
Yeah.
Let's learn a little bit about you, Todd.
Okay.
In our last video, we the audience heard that your nickname is Todd Lee Swagger.
Swagger, and also that I'm a good driver. Did you see how I'm laying my
Very
hands on
good.
it and watching this?
Very good. Yeah,
I can
the drive assist only kicked in about
What
3 or 4
I
times.
think you put the cop car coming. I kept thinking, oh, they're coming to get me. When I was watching, they're coming to get me. I'm looking around.
Yeah, we had DNR.
Yes, the
Give
DNR.
us a look.
Yeah. I fooled him by parking across the street, so I didn't have to pay the $5. Yes,
So
I'm the tightwad.
So Todd Lee Swagger. Let's finish this phrase for me, okay?
I'll try.
A penny saved is a penny.
It's 2 pennies later on. They want to say a penny earned, but no, a penny saved turns into 2 pennies. What's old Wade say?
Okay.
Wade says
That's even better.
Wade says, old Todd can pinch a nickel so hard to make the buffalo shit. That's what he says. Sorry, but he says
Because the buffalo nickel.
Yes, the buffalo nickel. Pinch a nickel so hard that anyway.
And
That's gotten me in trouble sometimes.
yeah, but I've seen you make lofts out of what you wouldn't think a loft would be made out of, and it comes out looking like a loft.
It all started because when I was little. So when I was little, we didn't have any money. So the loft I got, I would go down to where they were building houses, and they would put aluminum siding on the houses, and even that little tiny thing they would cut. They cut off that
Just little trimmings.
little trimming. I piled up this big old pile, put it down so I could get my take them down to the recycler and get my $25 or my $30. And yeah, if there was a 2x4 that was twisted, So I can see now that you mentioned that. I see the pattern in a 60-year-old, almost to be 60-year-old, back to when he was 11 or 10, trying to make a loft, which is
So
sad.
yeah,
That's a sad
so
thing.
the first step in recovery is admitting
Admitting
you have a problem,
this is yes,
and
and I didn't know that till you told me. So I
but
appreciate.
you come by it honestly.
I
It's
Dude, I still can't pass a piece of wood on the
it's
side of
part
the road.
it's part of the upbringing you got.
Yes,
You make do with what you got. You stretch it and
like
stretch it
like the
and
old truck,
stretch it.
the old truck. Mom and Dad, they had me when they were in their 40s, 42 and 46, and the old truck. So they went through the depression. The old truck we're looking behind us. That would be one that Dad would have been driving back in the day, and he'd have kept that thing driving no matter what he had to do because they didn't have any money. So yeah,
The
I
new
see it
truck's
now.
not in the cards.
No,
So guess what? We're gonna learn how to fix the truck.
first pen I had, Dad had me taking nails out of boards and straighten them so we could repound them in to make the loft. Yes.
Hmm.
Cheap Todd. Yes.
So have you had lot pigeons since you were a kid?
Good question. So um, my path to homers is a little different. My path to pigeons, my brother was getting the pigeon raising merit badge. My older brother.
Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts. Yep.
Okay.
They had a pigeon raising merit badge. Way cool. You had to raise a squab and eat it. We don't do that anymore. You had to race a pigeon, or you had to put a pigeon in. Yeah. Or you had to put. Well, it sounds like the raccoons eat them. Or you had to put a pigeon in a show. So you had to breed it, put it in the show. You didn't have to win a ribbon, but you couldn't get the merit badge. Say you had.
Part of the badge was
Yes.
checking those boxes.
Yes.
You got to go through the motions.
Yes. And so he had, I think he had some tumblers. He had a pair of racers. He had a pair of something. We ended up eating a squab as a family. And I think I was 8. And then Dad had built him a nice little loft. It was just piece of plywood on the top, 2 pieces of plywood on the side, little 4x3 something. And Dad says, or my brother said, I'm out. I got my merit badge. I was so excited.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. They were like going to be my birds now. And
and you were inheriting the birds.
Oh yeah, I inherited them. And
was that the deal from the beginning?
No, I begged him. I'm like, please let me have them. Please, oh, you can have them, whatever. He said.
Towards the end,
yeah,
they were headed your way.
Yes, they were headed my way. A couple times I think I helped him feed them or whatever. So they headed my way. And I remember I had them for a week. It couldn't have been longer than a week.
Were you going for the merit badge too?
Yes, I got the merit badge, but I wasn't 12 yet, so you had to wait to get into scouts when you were
just
11
or something, huh?
Whatever I was. So I wasn't in the merit badge yet, but I wanted those birds.
Silly cubs.
Yes. Tricks are for kids. Anyway,
merit badges are for scouts.
That's right. So I took over the pigeons. I had them a week. I remember sitting down at dinner one time. When there's 9 of us, so the tables, like you got all these kids there. Dad looks over and says, just he's eating. Looks over at me because I'm the one sitting next to him. He says, "Hey, when was the last time you fed those birds?" And he went right back to eating.
He knew the answer.
I was like, "Oh crap! Oh, I fed him. I fed him yesterday. I fed him this morning." He stopped eating, looks over at me, then back down and still eating. And that's all he said.
You knew you'd blown it,
dude. As soon as we were out, I shot out that door, went out to the pigeon pen. The doors were open. He'd let them all go. He just let them all go. Didn't mean anything to him.
He'd released them.
Yeah. And I hadn't fed or watered them for probably 2 or 3 days or whatever. I don't know.
So,
but
so the animal lover in your dad was like, not at my house.
Not at my house. Oh yeah. There's other lessons too. So he had let them all go. And if you want something bad enough at the Bartholomew house, you have to find a way to get it. You have to find a way to feed it. You have to, right? So no more could I go off of, I told him, hey, I want pigeons. He says, no, you don't. You don't want them bad enough because you didn't feed them. And then I confessed. And so then started the 8-year-old, 9-year-old Todd mowing lawns, $5, doing whatever I could to finally get enough money to buy birds. And I got some tumblers and fantails as the process went. And he made me feed them. I had to go and down to IFA and buy my own $5 this, $10 that. So, and there was no giving me money. It was all on me. And I remember we were fishing at Utah Lake, and somebody down there, we're sitting there fishing. Somebody down there pulled up and put his crates out, and I knew he had what he was, so I ran over there. I started talking about pigeons, and he says, well, first he was talking to me like, here's just a kid, right?
Yeah.
10-year-old kid. What does he know? And I'm all like, oh, you got racing homers. What? How do you know that? And then I started. Well, I got this, I got that, and he uh, he let them go. And once they got in that sky, and that was the first vision I had of what a racing pigeon does. And I was like, I don't want fantails anymore. I don't want rollers anymore. And I put him in the fair and had one of the LDS, the prophets, buy some from me, which was way cool. And I had done all that.
Monson, right?
Monson, yeah, when he was younger.
He was into the birds.
Yeah, he is. His son is still in the birds. Long story shorter, or long story longer, he let those birds go, and I just knew that's what I had to do. I just had to raise pigeons. So I went on.
The fantails didn't do it after that.
No. They were fun to watch, and
it's like a wall. It's like a flower compared to like a toy.
Yes,
I can actually do something with these.
Yes,
these are nice to look at.
Yep. So I went into the ads, saw a guy had homing pigeons for $5.
An ad.
Yeah, kind of ad? It was in the paper. Those are things we had back then. Was these newspapers? They were.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
paper.
And we had phone books.
Okay.
Anyway, I called him up. I called him. My dad, like I said, he makes me do everything. I called him up. He says, "Yeah, I got some birds. Come on up. You'll love this story." This is me bragging a little bit. But again, I think 10-year-old now. I don't know. Went up to his loft there in Olympus, in that big old cove, big old house, beautiful home. I pitched. I could still see it. We pulled in. My dad was with me. I had $25, and I was gonna buy. I don't know. So I was gonna buy. What is that? I had 30, whatever, 4 or 5. Pulled in there. Met my dad. Shook hands. My dad was great. He could talk to anybody. Went to the back. The guy opens up this little loft. He says, "Go in there. You can pick any bird you want." I walk in there, and I don't even know exactly, what I'm looking for. I've seen homing pigeons in shows and stuff, and I walked in there and I grabbed a bird that it just looked like the shiny penny, as we say. Yep. Grabbed that bird, came out. He said, scratched his head, said, "Oh, I must have left that one in there. You can't have that one. Put it in another crate, and not in my cardboard box." I was like, okay. Went in there again, picked another one.
Anyone but that one.
Yes. I went in there, anyone but that one. He comes out. I come out with this pigeon again. He looks at it, holds it, does his wing thing, and you can't have that one. And so then
that one either?
Yeah, so then he goes into the loft. And well, before that he says, "Hey, your boy's got a great eye for birds. He's just picked two of my best birds." And they were just his young flyers or whatever, right? So I went in, picked 2 more, and he hummed and hawed. Finally let me have them. That started my path. My poor mom had to help me train them down the road. I got into bought a clock later on.
What did training look like?
Oh, training.
How does mom help?
First of all, they're flying around the house.
She's the driver?
Yeah, she's the driver. And we would get 10 miles away, and she would just tell me the whole time we're driving, "That's too far, Todd. You can't take them. You got to go 50." We're driving 30 miles. We're driving to Provo. "You can't. That's too far. All these wires. You can't. You can't do this. These birds. You can't do this to them. That's too far." I'm on, "Mom, they got a race from 100 miles. That's their first tosses, the first race." And she was adorable. My mom loved them. She was worried about them. Oh yeah, she'd stand at the window watching with me when they're coming home, and it was terrible. I had all these wires in the back. One time, I think I placed in the 23rd, and I thought I was going to win. Right, you're 12, you're going to win every one, and I was disappointed. One guy slaps me on the back, said, "Dude, I wish I had gotten 23rd." You know what I mean? And they were competitive. And later on, we'd all train together. When I was 16 and finally could drive, I drove. Would train with them. But they'd come home up on these big wires there in Rose Park, the big wires, and sit up there, and I'd bounce back and forth, just driving myself crazy to get them down from this stinking wire.
They're your birds.
Yeah, coming from the race. Yeah, just come up, land. And then,
on race day.
On race day. Oh yeah.
Instead of the board, they're hitting the wire.
Oh, the first time, like I got them home. And being young, I didn't know how to practice. So they'd come home, get caught in that stall trap, and I'd pull the band off their leg and put them in the clock and turn the clock, snap it, and be all excited. And then the next race day, boy, they weren't going for nothing. They're looking at me. They're like, "This guy's going to pull my leg." It was a different game. You
trained them.
It was
not
a different
the way
game.
You were thinking.
No. In today's world, you could clock 25 birds in no time. Back then, man,
stress-free clocking.
The
birds don't even know they're being clocked.
No. The old guy up in the cove, later on, I wish I could remember his name. Later on, he gave me an old import hen, and he says, "Hey, she's starting to lay just one egg. They're thin, and they told me give her a lot of calcium, do this." And some of my best birds that I had at the house, even after my mission, were from her. So I had gotten like 3 babies from her, and they had blended. In fact, I went to Michigan, and before my mission, someone had bought birds from Michigan. That's a long ways away, and he had shipped them to him, and they got out and they had come back. Like it was like two
Whoa.
weeks later, I'd gotten one of those birds back that I had sold him. That's a claim to fame right there.
Jeez.
Wish I still had that blood.
That's a trek.
Yeah, wish I still had that blood. So that's my pathway. And then I one day I didn't have birds for the longest time, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to farm anymore. I don't want to do my garden. That was bored me. I had a greenhouse. I had went through this. My grass was green, and I'm like, what does Todd want to die with? What's this sport?
You're looking for a hobby.
And pigeons came to mind, and I said, okay, I'm dying with pigeons. I'm gonna have them. So then I got back into them, and here we sit.
So was this like 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think that's when I came back. Was it about 5 years ago? I think it was
Something like that.
something like that. I just yeah.
Okay.
I was actually writing a little story to my boy about my childhood, and I was writing him the story, and I just about everything I told you with some minor life lessons, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm gonna. So yeah, I'm like, I don't care about climbing underneath the truck anymore to change oil. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to fly pigeons again. And here we sit.
And you're still flying them.
Yeah, I'm still.
Why the hell are you doing that?
I'm still 23rd on the 23rd on the page, man. I make so many mistakes. It ain't even funny. I've changed landing boards in the middle of seasons. I make
And
so
you don't
many
think,
mistakes.
I mean, the landing board's better than it was. And so you're like, obviously this is good. This is an improvement.
Well, like
But you don't think about, it's like, wait a minute. The birds are like, this is unfamiliar.
Yeah. Oh, and it affects them.
I'm not gonna rush onto this weird thing. And you're like, come on, it's the race. You got to.
I can't be there when they come home from races because of my work schedule. So I'm like trying to make it smaller so they'll land closer to the pad. So they'll take those 5 steps and get clocked, right? And then the whole season is thrown because I've messed it. I've learned, they're unique animals, and they have good memories on things they want to remember. I'm addicted. I definitely, it's a religion. It's terrible.
This YouTube thing's new to us.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been getting some feedback from viewers, listeners, a lot of comments I've been reading, and it seems like we would do better if we included an outro.
Well, like we're exiting.
Honestly, I don't know.
Is that what an outro is?
Yeah, I don't know what an outro is.
Like instead of just waving and saying goodbye, we do something.
I thought it was going to be like a song.
A Pledge of Allegiance.
So I
or something,
prepared a little something here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let me get my guitar.
All right.
Not really. I don't have a guitar here.
Oh, pigeon,
I'm ready.
Oh, pigeon man. Yes.
But so when it comes to YouTube videos, having our audience here,
yep.
Let's tell them some of the things that we're hoping to get out of this. Like, what are our intentions?
Like, I like that.
Why?
I like that.
Why would we?
Why would we even?
Why
do
would
this?
we pull out the phone and hit record?
If you're asking me,
yeah, give me a couple things that you're excited about.
If you give me $100, I would tell you. No, I would love to. I would love to help our sport. It's at times it feels like we're a dying breed. So having some fun stuff, a guy could sit down and a new guy can watch and pick up some things as we go along would be cool. I think that's one of them.
Okay.
Some awareness of the sport, I think, would be cool too. That there even is racing pigeon. I mean, what's that? They run real fast. I get guys, why do you race them? Oh, they,
just kind of like the education and awareness.
I think so. What about you? What's something? I would have to think about it to give you any deeper answer. But what are you?
Honestly, I don't have very many friends, and so I was thinking that
you are friendless.
Could make some friends.
Maybe chicks.
I've got one or two good ones.
Maybe chicks could see it,
but
and some girls could give you a call. Or if you guys would help us
single and friendless,
you could help us get Taylor married off again.
But more seriously, I find myself really enjoying the bullshit sessions.
It is cool, man.
then
I gotta tell you, it is cool.
Yeah, and then
It is
later
cool.
being like, man, I know that there were a couple gold nuggets
Yeah.
that we unburied in
Yeah.
that pile of shit.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what it is.
No.
And so I've been watching our videos more than
because you edit them. Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, you got
And
to.
I really enjoy it. I'm at home taking notes
That's beautiful.
for my own race team.
You're like digging dirt, and then the nugget has got to flow out of there.
Once in a while, there's something good.
Yeah.
And we don't know it all.
No.
But we are.
No.
We're being observant. We're trying new things, and we're an open book.
Yes.
We want to share what we're trying.
The best quality I think we have is everything we hear about, we're able to say, is that real, or is that whatever, or is that, we would later on talk about eye sign and wings, and right, we'll talk about all the fancy stuff. And at the end of the day, it's like, how do you know that it works? What's the scientific method that you've done to prove that white toenails are the ones to be breeding, or that the throat theory is anyway, you're right.
Is that
you're
rule
right,
that you think's a rule really a hard rule? Let's turn it upside
Let's
down.
turn it upside down.
Poke some holes in it.
Let's see a check that wins a race. Let's see the check that wins the race instead of those blue bars.
It could happen.
At your loft.
It could happen. I'm not saying it won't.
It's just saying.
It never has before.
Every one of my winners has this and this and this. I love it.
And what are some things that you expect us to talk about? Do you think this is a podcast that is going to be limited to certain things? Like, are there things we're not going to touch on?
Oh, dude,
are there things we're only going to touch on?
I foresee us playing the gamut as we get going. Like, our Garmin system, we should have a whole episode on our Garmin.
Yeah.
The patent things pending. We want. Pending, yes. Patent pending. I love that. Love that.
It's important.
It is very important. I love the idea of calling one of our guys, one of our club members, and doing a prank call on the phone. I mean, I just see us having a ton of fun and having some knowledge to give, but also just having a ton of fun.
So we're gonna have fun.
If there's just some two guys that you just zoom in, you just want to hear some guys BSing about whatever, that's us.
And the whatever might not be pigeons.
Ice fishing, old trucks. What does it matter?
Yeah, we might be digging into duck hunting.
Oh, we love that.
Gardening,
smoking a pipe next to
enjoying some tobacco.
We might
putting out fires, depending on how the smoking goes.
Exactly, that's what I see. So, giving it some more thought down the road, I might have a better answer. But
let's wrap this up.
Let's do it. Wave at 'em.
Outro. Oh, outro. What's an outro?
I don't know, but we got to think of it. It doesn't have to be this one for everyone, but we should do an out. We should do.
Let's like alternate, like all.
So I like
thank you for.
Yes, your turn.
What?
So you'll say thank you.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Thank you
for
watching
us
on
the
interweb
with the old truck. See you later, guys.
Thanks for watching.
I love it.